everybody. I got control of the stream today, so we're gonna be taking a look at h4, my favorite move for the first move, and this is my first stream in charge here. This is a subscriber stream, so hey, what are you doing? All right, get out of here. Come on. So Panda just, what is he? I don't know what he's doing. He thinks he's taking over here. Ridiculous. Panda tried to hijack the stream. I had to subdue him. But we're not taking a look at H4. No, he's gotta... we gotta do a Panda stream one day, but we've got to get him a little bit settled down. He's got to be corrected. You know, this crazy stuff. These strange obsessions with weird openings. Welcome, everyone. International Master William Paschall. Panda, stay there and just behave yourself, okay? The Panda is our mascot. He wants to explore the possibilities with the Kadash opening here, H4. But yeah, he's been put in his place. What's up, everybody? Today is my subscriber stream. International Master William Paschall. We're streaming on Twitch and lichess. It's a stream I dedicate to the subscribers. So the point here is that we can actually do game analysis with the subscribers. So if you guys want to just submit a game, the easiest way to do that is to send me a message on lichess. If for any reason you're chat banned or some reason you can't submit the game to me on lichess, you can send it to my moderator here on the actually you can send it there to my moderator Soltigo through Twitch or something. Panda. So, what's up, guys? I'd like to just greet all the subscribers. Spectacular Camel, complaining of sales tax in your socialized country, but you know you have medicine and you have healthcare. You have your benefits too. But I live in Massachusetts. We're just having a little discussion about taxes, and I don't know how that started off in the stream there. But I'm normally in Hungary for most of the year, but I'm spending my summer here in the United States in Massachusetts. So we're streaming from this locale. All right, guys, welcome to all the subscribers. Asterbait, Spectacular Camel, Soltigo, Bob. Good to see you guys. That looks like all we've got right now. Turkey Farm. Turkey Farm as well. No turkeys since last week. I don't know, the turkeys seem to have disappeared, Turkey Farm. So I was looking for one yesterday, but went for a walk. Couldn't come up with any turkeys. They seem to be very reclusive. They probably don't want to get caught and taken to the turkey farm. Anyway, guys, so we're... Yeah, Mr. Coffee's here too. I didn't see Mr. Coffee. Mr. Coffee, what's up? Good to see you. So anybody who wants to submit a game, I've got... we might play a blitz game or two, just to kind of mix it up. We've got, or anything between 5+3 and 7+3. We play a couple games. I've got Soltigo, Tushar, and Asterbait right now for subscriber games to analyze. So without further ado, I'd like to get started with Soltigo. He said he just played this crazy game. A little long, but feel the entire game is instructional and entertaining up to the final blunder on move 50. What's up with that other camel? Yeah, that's kind of wrong. The other camel. Camel Culture's not even a subscriber. We should be... He's like a friend of the stream. We should be appreciative. The subscriber camel. Alright. Yeah, that's not right, Soltiga, calling him the other camel. Camel Culture. So we got a sort of crazy game here. A little long, feel the entire game instructional. I said that already. Alright, this is going to be a great one for the camel, though. You guys have this in common, Soltigo. You shouldn't belittle your fellow Knight C6 player. Unless you were white, you were black. Okay. Pikachu, 11 against Soltigo. Let's take a look at this. Mr. Coffee. Do you keep a 12 gauge on hand for the turkeys? No 12 gauge on hand. Is that what you need to take out a turkey? I thought they were like chickens. You just like cut off their heads. Or something like that. Just a large knife would suffice. But turkey violence is not condoned here in my stream. This is a family channel, Bob. Um, all right, so I'm not going to look at the graph. Let's 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 turn this off for a second, the analysis, and I'm going to just close the graph because the graph is hurting my eyes. All right, we'll look at the cross table. Okay, the graph just biases me because I see all these up and down lines, and I know that it's going to be absolute mania, but I'd rather just focus on the game. You always hear about turkey shoots. Okay. Yeah, you're backwoods, man. That's what I figured. All right. So you know about the woodshed. E4 knight c6 d4 e5. E4 knight c6 d4 e5. Anywhere near Indiana by any chance, Bob? That's the home state of Emery Tate, who he was always talking about the woodshed. I don't know. I don't have a woodshed in my yard, but I imagine that in some parts of the country, everybody has a woodshed. They go out and get their tools, their turkey sharpening knives out there. Anyway, e4, knight c6, d4, e5, d takes e5. I've got annotations here, I guess, from Stockfish. Tushar asked me not to turn on the analysis during his game, but I generally leave it on. I think I knew that at one point. I mean, I've only been to like the outskirts of North Carolina. I'm not really well versed on it. So, yeah, e4 knight c6. Let's slow down a second here. d4 e5. So Soltico decides to play e5. I know that Spectacular Camel, was not insulted. Soltico, he was just kidding around. Or maybe not. So anyway, I like d5, and I think Spectacular Camel plays this way. Maybe he plays both. I've also explored the sort of jokey e6, but this is definitely like a second-rate French. I wouldn't recommend doing that in like a really serious game with black. And then d6, which is also possible. But anyway, Soltico plays e5, so I mean, taking on e5 is critical. D takes e5. He does take on e5. It's not the only move. He can transpose to the Scotch. That hardly seems like a test of black's position. But there is d5. It's never really been my favorite to close the position. Here you see a Miles game from 2000. He drew with Belyaski. Enders versus Sadler. So Joel Benjamin, there's quite a few good players that have played this stuff with black. Joel's got a couple games with black there. But knight on c to e7. And that's pretty much forced, closing the position. I really like this takes, seriously. D takes e5. This is the game continuation. And black plays knight takes e5. I don't know, of any other serious move here. Knight f3. So this is Pikachu, and this is a player with like, wow, 2300 bullet. Soltico, any idea about this player? Where do you know this guy? He's 2300 bullet, but no other ratings? Somebody that we know? Because knight f3 is like the professional move. I've seen that recommended in like New in Chess or somewhere like that. But to be honest with you, f4 is pretty fun. I think that f4 is my preference for aggressive players here. I've told people before, I had this game with a master from Maine, Soltigo, of all people. I think, you might recall that I mentioned this, I'm not sure, but Jared Bryan, who's like a FIDE master from the state of Maine, he a long time ago we had a game, it was like f4, and then knight c6, bishop c4, and he just blundered bishop c5 against me, allowing bishop takes f7 check, and here he like didn't know what to do. It was a long game. I mean, to be like a 2200 player and blunder this. He played king f8 and I went on to win. But no, I think f4 is really critical, very testing, and it's not clear. There's actually a lot of similarity between this position and the I think in a way the what's it called? Budapest Gambit. Little memory loss. It's good. d4, knight f6, c4, e5, d takes e5, knight g4, and then e4, and this variation with knight takes e5, f4. But you see here there is a small difference. I mean, I think the fact that white has included the move c4. So if you think about this, that move is just like a free move for white, you know? You're giving white the free move c4, playing the same position. But is it a good move? Is it constructive? Or is it actually like negative for white? And I think the argument is close. Like c4, yes, it clamps down on d5, but it also weakens the pawns. And so, I mean, there's a lot of dark square weaknesses in this position after white plays like c4, e4, f4. It's not that easy to handle. This is a so-called Alekhine variation. Tushar, what's up? All right, so strong player here. Soltigo's playing. Let me go back to the game. e5, d takes e5, knight takes e5, knight f3. This is a very safe move. It's like the recommended move. So here black's supposed to play bishop b4 check as far as I recall. And that's the only move that I've really seen. Knight takes f3 check is okay. And it's interesting for white to consider, like Soltigo, if you were white in this position, I think you ought to consider taking with the g-pawn. You know, I've looked at this position with the white pieces, and I've played it a few times in Blitz, and I'm strongly tempted to take with the g-pawn because it's just dynamic. It creates dynamism. G takes f3, and the idea would be to castle queenside, most likely for white, and play a sharp position with perhaps opposite side castling. And it looks like white won both games where this was opted for. So bishop b4 check, it's a lot like a Scotch, very close to some lines of the Scotch. That's also like a main line. Here you see Kudrin lost against Miles, Garcia lost against Miles. These games were played, you know, when Tony was playing knight c6 on a regular basis back in the late 80s, early 90s. I'll try to take your game next. You are next, actually, Tushar. So that'll be easy to do. But instead, Soltigo played queen f6. Again, we see parallels with a Scotch, and this has apparently been played. Joel played it. Christian Bauer played it recently. Very creative player, Christian Bauer. But he does go out of his way to play some strange stuff. That would be a good player for Soltigo to emulate. Johnny Hector, ironically, playing the white pieces against Einar Gossel. That's funny because, I mean, Hector's like a maniac. You know, you'd think he'd play something like this for black. And Kudrin against Joel Benjamin. Benjamin playing this a lot at one point, apparently. So queen f6, kind of a weird sideline. And then knight takes e5. That can't really feel right. That doesn't feel right to play knight takes e5. I don't know. It just feels like you should develop your pieces here. What's the reasoning, though? Like, white doesn't want to get pinned by bishop b4? Is that why he doesn't like knight c3? I mean, knight c3 feels very natural, but black can play bishop to b4, negating the threat of knight d5. I still think white has a small edge here. Plaskett, Sherwin, 2002. Sherwin, million years old there. I don't know. Bishop d2, white still has an edge here. I kind of like that, but that's probably the way you would continue. So knight takes e5, trading pieces. The queen is out early. White's advantage is small based on the pawn on e4. Now bishop d3, and we're following this game Hector versus Gossel. I played Einar Gossel a bunch of games on the now defunct World Chess Network years ago. We played some you know, banter games. I think he got the better of me. I don't know. He is a GM. So f4 does look kind of critical. Instead, white plays castles, which is like a novelty, it looks like. Hard to criticize that move, though. I mean, it develops. However, if there's a problem with bishop d6, it's a problem. You know, if there's a problem with bishop d6 threatening mate, you have to play f4, then queen d4 check. And if you take on e4, bishop e5 wins the queen. So you just take, and he did try bishop d6. This is going to be a long game. I better go faster. What's up, Infinite Flash Chess? Hector likes the Colorado Gamut. Hector plays a lot of crazy stuff. It's about to get pretty crazy. So The tempting move, bishop d6, the computer says you should play this. Obviously, white plays bishop takes e4. So this is like a modified move order that would have been more accurate for black. Then you play bishop d6. After bishop takes, bishop d6, f4 is still possible, though it's not forced. g3 is like safer. Black's king is still in the center of the board, so rather than weakening the king, you just play this. Man, the computer claiming white doesn't have any edge here, and maybe it's just right. You know, there's nothing here. You just have to defend the bishop, and I don't know about that. Maybe better to move the bishop itself. If you play something like bishop g2, and white's threatening rook e1, so castles. I mean, you know, this looks about equal. So bishop d6 and g3 right away. Apparently a mistake. And now, obviously, Soltigo, who I criticize very often for not liking the castle, goes out of his way, you know, to create the possibilities of every kind of castling. Computer needs more ply. Yeah, it needs more horizon, and it just needs to be faster too. My you know, computer is not that big a deal, so it's not super fast. But apparently you're forcing him to go to a good square here with rook e1. So some sort of rational move would have been better. But it may be already too late, you know, like, okay, let's see, d takes e4, bishop takes e4. Can we transpose to the other line? Not exactly. Yeah, why not? It looks pretty much the same. Takes, bishop g2, castles. Soltigo, you gotta be a little more conservative with the king side, with the king position. You're going crazy again. Bishop h3, bishop f4, and then he takes the pawn here. Yeah, this is like impulsive by white, so he just plays this sort of bullet move. But I mean, the logical rook e1 is just very strong. Now, presumably black would castle queenside, and okay, I mean, on the surface it looks murky, but it's kind of hard, actually, it's kind of hard to see black's king being quite as safe as white's king here. Plus there's this threat of bishop f4, which is a little bit irritating. Knight c3 followed by bishop f4. So knight c3, he doesn't have to sacrifice the pawn on b2. So basically white, you know, white's move is like a blunder, bishop f4. And you just grab the material. I mean, I'm a little shocked here by maybe the computer needs more time, but I mean, I wouldn't think this was that bad for white. He lost the pawn. You'd think he'd have some compensation in terms of, well, it's actually 2 pawns at this point. But you'd think he'd have some compensation in terms of development, but his rook's just hanging. So now he's got 2 rooks hanging. It's taking me a while to catch up on this. 2300 bullet. Yeah, so he's just losing the exchange, actually. Bishop takes d6, and now my reaction would have been to just recapture, because you got both rooks hanging. That's safe, you know, better safe than sorry. I would just take back here Soltigo and leave his rooks mutually hanging. And you've got to be better. Eventually you play knight e7 or knight f6 and castles kingside. So this was like unnecessary risk, taking on a1. And this guy has this insane move now. Bishop e5 check. So I was looking at c6, queen takes d5. I haven't seen this game already. I mean, here I am assuming like he's going to do something like this. Queen takes pawn. I mean, it would be more fun to turn the engine off here. So I just thought, okay, it must be something to do with that. Queen takes d5. But actually, you could take on b5. No. You could take on b5 there. If queen takes d5, takes on b5. Queen takes b5 check, and the bishop comes back, and it looks like black's just up a rook. I mean, takes here, and then rook c8, and I think it's a little scary, obviously, but a rook is a rook. You know, is this rook worth it? Doesn't calculating speed translate to skill in longer games? I'm not sure. You know, I would think it would, but not as much as in Blitz or something. You know, you've got time. You've got time in the longer games, so some of the slower players like myself can catch up to the faster guys. Yeah, yeah. You were afraid of bishop b5 check. That's why you played queen takes a1. Clearly not too afraid. But anyways, so he plays pawn takes. And I didn't, foresee this. But I mean, this could be all kinds of crazy stuff. He could be sacking the house now with like d takes c6. There's also queen e2 check. So suddenly, this is much scarier than the simple answer. But I think you can take on b5. And walk your king to d7 would be my assumption. Perhaps not. I mean, it does look a little scary, to say the least. What do we do here? Do we take on b5, queen e2 check? And then where do you go? King d8? Yeah, it's pretty insane. This is pretty insane. You got what you wanted. Can you actually take this? This game could take the whole stream to analyze. So this is apparently a very, very strong attack after queen e2 check. This is not a joke. Like, very, very scary. King d7. And I had no idea what was going on here. Like, I didn't want to even touch this. But the computer's saying, like, you're up too many pieces now after king takes d6. Okay. But apparently he has in-between move, like, almost trapping your queen. Then you have to play queen takes a2, then queen takes b5 check, and it's like, hell to pay for black. Yeah, it's all complicated. So you just took that rook out. And of course he's got to play d takes c6. I mean, this is the whole point, right? Take, and then maybe promote a new queen. And all of a sudden you're not even better. Wow. There's the in-between moves here with the check. He found this, queen e1. That's like the only move. I mean, I was looking at this originally, thinking, oh yeah, this is a great move. But you're just down too many pieces after rook d8. You're just going to sacrifice the rook back, no problem. And you're just up a piece. No, so what's the deal here? You're just up a piece. Yeah, king takes d6 there was convincing. So, okay, this game's giving me a headache, which I expected. I'm sorry I took it first. But queen e1 check. This is an amazing move. Because you have to see this. I guess this queen a5. So that's a really insane save by white. If he doesn't have that, it's like winning for black, I guess. You have to go here, and then he takes on b7. That's actually the best move as well. I was seriously looking at queen a5, but again, I guess you drop too much stuff. This check, you just go b6, and there's this capture, but again, you're down too many pieces without a threat here. So that's not enough. You have to take on b7. But the threat of queen a5 remains. Man, that's insane. So you found the only defense here. Good job, Soltigo. I mean, that's really the highlight of the game, isn't it? To play bishop c6 now. The stream isn't on lichess. Uh-oh. Alright, I forgot something. It's a subscriber stream, so it's not a tragedy. My intention is to do it for the subscribers, but it doesn't hurt to get the stream out there. Okay. So we caught it. It only took us 23 minutes. Really nice job, though. But if you look at the position, I guess it's not that hard to find bishop c6 because it's simply like the only move. The only way to protect the rook on a8. Classic Soltigo. Absolute chaos. Now, if this guy plays bishop e5, I would start suspecting something, Nobody's going to find that move. So he plays pawn takes, queening, bishop takes. And now the smoke cleared. And you are still down a rook in this position. I mean, white is down a rook. You are black. But, I mean, white is down a rook. Now he finds bishop e5. Again, only move. Queen takes a2. And then bishop takes g7. That's insane. Winning the rook back. Truly funny game. Very aesthetic. I guess it's not hard to find, Bob. Yeah, you're right. Alright, bishop takes g7, queen takes d5, and then there's... I knew this was going to happen at some point. Black was going to have this mating threat. This almost looks composed. Soltigo secretly composed the game with his opponent. Hey, this will look really cool. I'm just kidding. Alright, Bob, it's not hard to find. It's not hard to find. It's true. Queen d2, knight e7, takes the rook, and now it's equal. Actually, black is down a pawn here. The opposite color bishop should guarantee the draw, though. There's just not enough material back. I mean, left. If you can trade queens, which it looks like you're going to force a trade of queens because of the mate threats. So as long as black trades the queens, thank heavens he thought to do that. And now you don't want to, like, well, actually, white could even lose because it's outside a pawn, I guess, technically. You play something like bishop d5 as the computer's recommendation. It's a little hairy, though, like, to do this and walk into c4 and play some kind of position where you're letting him exchange, like, bishop for knight and having a pawn down ending where white has a knight against bishop. It's sort of weird. I mean, I would want to be on the safe side and keep the opposite color bishops on the board to guarantee a draw here. So this is just a draw with the opposite color bishops. Come on. I mean, it has to be. Now the game goes on for like a million miles. I mean, either side could win, but seriously, you got this outside pawn. Then you dropped a piece. Just king e6. Actually, the king centralization is so critical in the endgame. You know, this is no exception. I mean, the knight b6, yeah, you dropped a piece. Okay, you're in a hurry to push the pawn, made a blunder. I would expect against Magnus Carlsen, if I had this position like 50 times, I would draw it like 49 out of 50 with black. I mean, maybe like once I would make some kind of insane blunder, but I mean, it's opposite color bishops. I mean, there's just not that much to do. Even with the knights on the board, there's just not much in the position. All right, maybe Carlsen would score like 3 out of 50 against me, but I mean, somehow tricking me. But I mean, it's just too easy for black to draw. As long as he doesn't allow an exchange of like knight for bishop or something like that. So it should be a draw. It ended in a draw. I have no idea how, though. More entertaining here. Check. King e6. It's actually not dropping a piece. Okay, that's the point. So the move wasn't that bad. Bishop a1. Bishop b7. You get to keep the opposite color bishops on the board. What if he didn't do that? What if he went for this? Now the pawn's too fast. And then actually white's losing. That's insane. So it wasn't really a blunder necessarily then. But I mean, what are you? Were we playing for a win here or what? With black, I mean, king e6 was a simpler move to play. a4, knight b6 here, king e6, bishop b7, and now you just lost the pawn. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's the real issue, isn't it? That we're losing this pawn. So it turns out you have a crazy move here, knight to b4. And that's the only reason that this isn't good for white. Wow, this is an awesome variation. Knight takes a8, knight takes c2. Bishop e5 again, a3. And you're going to have to draw like this knight endgame. Pawn down. Knight c7 check, king f5. Knight b5, what a great line. Here, OMG. Wait, doesn't white have knight d4 check now? What's going on? Oh, man, I thought this is just lost. I would assume this was just lost. What's going on here? This has to be lost for black. Okay, that's weird. I thought he was holding, but he's not, apparently. Okay, so there's no way to save the pawn. Yeah, I agree, Tushar. All the hopes died with the a4 pawn loss. Yeah, it's really tough after losing this pawn. Now it's like 2 pawns down. I mean, damn. So bishop e7, he didn't take the pawn. He was like blitzing or what? That is weird. He just didn't see he could take the pawn. It's crazy. And now it's like a3. Okay, I'm alive again. And the time situation, White had plenty of time. Both sides had tons of time. Actually, Soltigo had like under a minute. This is a draw still. A weird play by White. You know, the guy's like 2,300 in bullet, and he's like dropping pawns left and right. He's just trying to win on clock or something. That's all. I mean, it's a 5-second increment, though. I don't know what he's thinking. Maybe he's just not used to playing for increment. He's like trying to flag Soltigo. Tushar is suspicious. Tushar, yeah, that's kind of weird. I agree. You're almost as paranoid as me, but there's justification for it. Yeah, but he like blunders here. He's just like trying to flag him. And now black might be winning. There's not many pawns left. He has the right color rook pawn, which is very critical. You know, so I assume this is probably a win for black, if played perfectly. Just a bizarre, ridiculous end, though. You know, now, what did we do wrong here? Computer's claiming you should play f5. That's a deep move. It's counterintuitive, because you don't want to trade pawns when you're, you know, winning by a very small margin like this, and not many pawns left on the board. But apparently all you need is love. All you need is this h-pawn. That's all you need to win the game. So even if he trades off the f-pawn, it's probably not savable for white at this point. You're going to have to checkmate with bishop and knight against king, obviously. But that shouldn't be too hard. At your level, Soltigo. How much do I pay per month if I subscribe? It's, I believe, $4.99. Alright, but there's different subscriber options. So, H takes you, yeah, this is crazy. I don't understand this game. It got really crazy, Soltigo. Too much. Let's see what happened, though. So, you let the pawns kind of unite and get a lot of space there. But this trading off the H-pawn, that's where it became a draw. He's going to trade off your H-pawn. You're only going to have the F-pawn left. He has a good chance to trade off everything now, and now you probably can't avoid it. Nice technique there. But this is a weird move, king e5. So he doesn't see knight e5, forcing g6. That's another kind of weird move. You know, he's just trying to play for time, I guess. He's trying to win on time. That's what it looks like. He lets you set up the blockade so you have a winning position now. Very weird. And then g6. This is like a losing move. Yeah, I mean, you would think he would try to take, but he doesn't. How did the game end in a draw? Wow. That's just weird. Now it's here, it's like he's playing for a win again, you know? Knight h6 is like repetition of position. But this guy's playing for a win with knight e5. And that was weird. Alright. Okay, my head is spinning. Let's accept, you know, a challenge one of these days. If we get a blitz game, we'll probably throw one in there. But I want to do the Tushar game because he's in a hurry to go home. Okay, so I've got Bob next. And after that, and Chestosterone. And also Move 11. So anyway, this is our subscriber stream, guys. If you'd like to submit a game to analyze. Man, this was a little crazy to do for the first game, Soltigo. I mean, I have no idea what this guy was thinking in this game. You know, he's 2,300 in bullet, but like, you know, it just seemed completely random. Like he was dropping pieces. And you were the one in time pressure, not him. You know, his play was really, really sloppy. How many games does he have to be 2,300 in bullet? Wow, 492 games. Maybe he was drunk or something. I don't know, man. If he's 2,300 bullet, that's pretty strong. Let's go on to the next game. Alright, so Tushar asked me to not use the engine for this and tell evaluations from human perspective. Alright, but he is here. All right. This is versus NM Rafi. Okay, guys. So taking a deep breath. Is this an 80 move game, Tushar? Because Soltigo, man, he got me with a 70 move game there. How many was that? All right, only 52. You guys really get your money's worth. Like, somebody please submit like a game under 20 moves for everyone that submits one that's like 70 or 80 moves. You know, the average chess game is probably something like 40 moves long, but we seem to get a lot that are like 60, 70. Spectacular Camel. One of these days I should play Leela chess. Actually, I've been, speaking of Leela chess, I've been contracted to analyze a Leela chess game. I'm going to do like text commentary for Leela chess for the Leela chess blog. So that's something kind of fun. I should pay Leela chess or play Leela chess. Spectacular Camel said I should pay. Alright, so Tushar against Rafi. NM Rafi. Let's see, who is Rafi? I'd like to have information. Okay, so it's a Raphael from Poland. National Master. Tushar is white. And alright, this is our subscriber stream, guys. We're doing game analysis, just so you know. It's too strong, it crushes your hopes and dreams. Now, I don't want to play it, I just want to be paid to analyze its games. Bishop a4, knight f6, castles, bishop e7, and then I want to watch other people be crushed by Leela chess. Other people in computers be crushed by You sent a 10-move game. Who is that? I take back? Yeah. Yeah, thank you for the 10-move game. That makes life a little easier. It's an AI program that's like learning on its own. So it's not like a standalone chess program. It's just learning the game, like an artificial intelligence learning the game without program knowledge of specific program chess knowledge. So again, okay, we have like a standard Lopez here. He plays d6. Tushar himself, who's been playing, I don't know if you're still doing it, Tushar, but you were playing the Marshall Gambit. So this is like going into, mainline stuff now. And it's interesting because you play with black. So this is an opening you know a little bit. h3, knight b8, the Breyer variation. I don't know how trendy this is. It seems like knight a5 is really trendy. That's all I see after h3. See a lot of the Chigorin variation, which is funny because years ago when I was becoming a master, let's say like the 90s, it's funny how chess fashion changes because like knight a5 was like always out of fashion. It was like the old-fashioned way to play. You don't do the Marshall against 2100 plus now? Okay. Well, I think it's great if you know it. Why not? You just got to really know the theory for either side. h3, d4, knight d7. So the Breyer variation, I saw a really nice game like a year ago. I think it was like Wesley So against Kamsky, and that was brutal, man. Wesley So with white in the classical Roi de Pez seemed to really know what he was doing. There is the Gajewski Gambit. I don't know what that is, Spectacular Camel. I should look that up. Okay, so all sort of normal stuff, but here Tushar plays d5. This is a strange move. Normally you want to keep the tension, you want to make sure e4 is protected. There's lots of moves I can play here. I mean, bishop c2 overprotecting. I'm supposed to turn the engine off, sorry. Bishop c2 overprotecting the e4 pawn. And the other moves I like, would be a4 and a3, like it says here. I'm not copying these moves from the list. These are the same moves I would play. Bishop c2, a4, a3, and I don't really have another move on my list. I mean, I don't like taking. I'm not really crazy about pushing because it seems inflexible. So I'm not surprised d5 is very rarely played. This statistics means nothing. Okay, these statistics mean nothing. If it's 8 games, it means nothing. If it's 13 games, it means nothing. If it's 30 games, it probably means nothing. If it's like 100 games, then it starts to mean something. I think that the sample size of these opening Explorer numbers, like in my experience, you really need to have like at least 100 games, I think, before the statistics start to have some kind of relevance. Otherwise, it's just a total crapshoot. Yeah, the only thing I know about mathematics is statistics, Bob. The only math class I passed in university, and the only the only math tool that was ever useful in poker. But anyway, okay, bishop e7, d5. So we did pass statistics 101. Like Turkey Farm's talking about poker, 50,000 hands required for a statistically relevant sample. Well, it's a little different than that, but I think we can eliminate it when it's 13 or 30. We need at least 3 digits for the statistics to really mean something. I mean, it's possible, a 30 game sample might be relevant, but usually not. It's usually like far more relevant, like the average rating of the players. Like if you got a 30 game sample in the statistics, it's far more, important to know like, oh yeah, black was mostly like 2600s and white was like mostly 2200s. That's going to override like the true position evaluation. But I don't like d5. Black plays c6, and I think this is just a classic move, and you don't have c4. If you had c4 to support your pawn chain, then I'd say white is still okay. I mean, there are some positions where similar stuff happens like this. One that reminds me of is a little bit like this variation with d4. For example, d4, bishop g4, bishop e3, or d4, bishop g4, d5. Actually, this position. Like compare this position to what you're seeing in the game with Tushar. Black moves like knight a5 or something, bishop c2, and then black goes c6 here. I think because black's pieces are weird, like bishop on g4, knight out on an a5, and white has pretty good control of e4. This variation is actually, I thought about playing this with white. This is kind of a safe, simple variation, but yeah. Do they give degrees with only credit in statistics? Fortunately not. Probably you find an online program, Bob, but not my problem. Yeah, this is another line that I think is quite different. If you compare the game, here it looks like d5, c6. I don't know. The bishop's well placed. The knight is well placed on d7. In the other line, you have like bishop on g4, knight on a5. Here, black's pieces are well placed. Knight could go to b6 to pressure d5. White has to give up the center here. Takes, and then, I mean, you see here like Smades played this with white, but I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, that's weird. I don't know what a player of Smades' strength playing this weird d5. Why he did that? Of course, it was a long time ago. It was like 2006. Maybe he just didn't know the theory. So bishop c2, and then knight c5, and that's what I'm talking about. Those guys are able to put a lot of pressure immediately. Unlike the uncoordinated pieces on g4 and a5, we can immediately get pressure on the white center. And I think he might even get in d5 at some point. It's not going to work right away because of knight takes e5, I presume. So white played queen e2, yeah. Well, you're tied down to e4 now. And b4 is like awful strategically, but it's something that you have to consider. You see this. That was the move that was played in those 2 games. I mean, b4 is ugly, but it's not an unheard of move. And you might be able to play like b4, a4 for white. Let's see if that's what happened. b4, knight e6, let's say, and then white played knight f1. This is 2 Indian players. a4 I would try to play because I want to like weaken black's structure. But this guy played knight f1. For me, that's a bit weird to play knight f1. It seems like the knight is doing a job here. But he wanted to stop bishop f4 apparently. Knight f1, queen c7. This is just analysis. But I'm not in love with it for white. Looks like white's slightly worse, you know? So, yeah. Tushar just getting out of book, really. And there were other moves for black, too, other than knight c5. Queen c7 played in several games. But that move played, you know, by some random masters, Babu and Orlov Pavle. But I mean, knight c5 feels more aggressive here. And then queen e2, okay. Queen c7, okay. b4, you played it anyway. Now he goes back. And then knight f1. So this is quite similar to those other games we looked at. But you might get some play along the c file too. White is on the defensive. Absolutely on the defensive. Now you're like worried about knight f4. There's the backwardness along the c file. So, I mean, I'm wondering if it was even the right idea to do like queen e2. You know, here, the queen ends up even possibly getting attacked at some point by knight f4. Can we play b4 and c4? I'd really like to do that, but I don't see how we're going to get it in. Can we play c4? I wonder. Trying to unbackwardize our pawn on the c3. Yeah, well, I mean, that is the idea. Black would like to play d5. One idea for black, anyway. You have too much pressure on e5, though, for him to really be able to do that. Unless he has some in-between move like d5, e takes d5, e4. This seems logical. And then g6, keeping you out of f5. Maybe your bishop can come back here. He can crank up more pressure on e4 with the bishop on the long diagonal. Honestly, white is still worse. You did try to play c4. And that was your undoing, I guess, huh? It was a good motivation. Like, the idea is a good one. But I guess, like, you played it too early. Of course you should try to play this. I mean, the other idea would be to play a4. If you could try to play a4, possibly. And just trade pawns or weaken his pawn on b5, in other words. You know, so here, like, b takes a4, bishop takes a4, bishop takes a4, rook takes a4, queen takes c3, rook takes a6, rook takes a6, queen takes a6. You know, is this... What's going on here? Maybe it's okay. You know, this like long line. But a4 is not really a forcing move. You know, you don't... He's not necessarily going to, like, take on a4. He can play, just sit there and wait. I'm not really sure. But for my money, it looks like it might be slightly better than your choice of c4. That's one of two backward pawns, you know, and you can choose which one you want to unbackwardize. So c4, again, a natural plan, but he's all set on the c file. This move came out of nowhere. I didn't suspect that was coming. Wow, okay, that's a different problem. So there's a tactical problem here. Another argument for a4. But, I mean, the lesson of this game is really about that. Now you went crazy with c5. c5 is like desperation. It looks like you have to sack a pawn or something, like, which is difficult to do psychologically. I mean, I don't know what to recommend. Go here and then lose the pawn and go back and blockade or something. This is awful, obviously. You just simply can't play c4 Tushar. I mean, that's all there is. It just can't be played. So the a4 would have been better, or just doing nothing, you know, like bishop d2 or something. It's a bad and difficult to play position because it's passive. So you did c4. And then this is kind of just a random way of losing the pawn. In my book, you're just down a pawn. You know, it looks like this is it. You're just down a pawn. So you probably tried to sack to get to the e5 pawn. But it's not enough. I was expecting bishop b2, but then this is too crushing. Bishop b3, knight d4, very simple. And you're just wasted. down a pawn with a better position for black. Queenside majority, pressure against f2. And it's all played. Black played really well. What was his center pawn loss? Like 38. Okay, he made mistakes, apparently. But this is just good idea to not trade queens. This is always bad, the knight on g3. Apparently you had a tactic or something. I mean, that's like a computer move, like rook d1, rook d3, rook f3 or something like that. Well, rook d1 is a logical move anyway. But you have to think like a computer to see this. Rook d1, h4, rook d3, followed by rook f3, something of that ilk. You have to play more actively. I mean, f3 made sense, but it's not enough. Now you're just still down a clear pawn. Plus you have dark square weaknesses. Normal move, though, in a fast time control scenario. Here, maybe like a3. I don't know what to recommend. I was hoping to keep my bishop. Maybe keep my bishop on the long diagonal, but you've got no other pieces. It's a disaster. This is terrible. This is a good try, though. Bishop d5, a really good try, and now Tushar has ideas. He's hanging in there with tactics based on knight f5, queen h6. So black has to defend quite carefully. This was a very solid move. Meeting the threat of like knight f5. Here I don't know what to do. He's defending against everything. These very careful moves are impressive. Rook a7, queen e7. This guy is not... He's not a wild tactical player. First of all, he's playing the, black side of the closed Lopez. So he's looking for a solid positional game. But look at his defensive skills. Quite good. I mean, he's playing this subtle rook a7, backward move, queen e7. Sees the threats. He sees what you're trying to do. And now he takes and he goes into this. And then knight e4, which I guess you've got threats of what? That's the problem, no threat. He can play rook takes d5, no? No, he can't play rook takes d5. He can play knight takes d5. Maybe knight takes d5 is possible. Is there a win here for white, or why can't he take this? You've got tactics with knight g5 now, and if knight f6, you have rook takes d7. Okay, so he's got some issues with losing something. He can't take an e5 here, here, here. This still looks bad, but maybe you can protect the rook with like f4 and survive a little bit. Knight takes d5 loses to knight g5. Well, that's what I'm looking at here. But I didn't think it was that clear. We go back to f6. And what's the problem? I don't really see it. I don't see any win in this position for white. Doesn't look clear to me. Is there another move? He traded here, but I don't see it. There's not another trick, something else? Oh, of course. Rook takes d5. Rook takes d5, rook takes d5, knight g5. This isn't that clear, though, because of f6. But it would be messy. Queen takes g6 check, queen g7, queen f5, or something like that. Okay, this is getting really weird. I mean, I don't know, if it's sure, but even this might be winning. No, you got c2 covered. That's convenient. So maybe there's some chances here for white with a strong knight. So he plays knight takes, another good decision. Just goes into technical mode. With that queenside majority basically becoming a queen, plus the 7th rank, you're in a lot of trouble. What about rook takes e5, queen takes e5? There was a check. Queen takes e5 is check. That's the problem. Rook d2, here, here, here. Wow, you managed to get some play again. That protected passed pawn is counterplay. He's trying to trade queens. Psychologically, you feel like, okay, I don't want to trade queens. You're probably right. He plays this. Double the rook. This is a weird move, Tushar. Rook e2. You're trying to free your queen, apparently. But, I mean, it's fairly natural to play rook f2. And then maybe you can invade with the queen and start to do some damage with like queen b5 or d6 and rook takes f7. Or actually, you might even have rook takes f7, you know, at any moment in some lines. But this is a very bad hesitation, rook e2. I mean, I don't really need an engine here. I've got evaluations already. King h7, queen b6. This is an ugly move from hell. I don't know, black was short of time. Yeah, he was just short of time, I guess. g5. Queen b5. And this like weakens the f5 square. g5 is insane. Black has a very safe position, and he's winning on the queen side. You know, maybe not, but he's still better. But g5, he got totally desperate. And then queen b5, you're forking the rooks here, and then he's dropping his pawns. Now white is better. Now he's not up a pawn anymore, and he's just like weakened his king side with g5. And that's ridiculous. And now his, you know, you've also got this passed pawn, protected passed pawn. So I think here it's just a matter of being really careful. He does have some nasty threats. Rook g3 would leave your rook strangely boxed out of the game. And you played a natural move, rook f5. So apparently you have to find rook f1. So on g3 check, the king can go back, and you played this like natural rook f5, which surprisingly is like losing. Here, 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 and you figured, okay, no problem, right? That's kind of shocking. Chop, chop, check. Now here you realize that, oh, he's got like queen there. But is it that clear? Why would you choose to go to the center rather than go back to g1? You figure you're getting trapped in the corner, but the center is even worse. So, I mean, this isn't that obvious. He has a check, let's say, and a draw by repetition in this line, or maybe rook f6 is even worse. Okay, this could be, or d6, this could be really bad. This is not that clear, but rook c7 with the back rank. And he's getting down there with queen f2 and rook down. So black has the upper hand. You totally missed g3, Tushar said. Well, I'm surprised that this is so clearly winning for black, according to computer. It's not clearly winning, but I mean, king e1 is a crazy move. To walk out into the center. I mean, there's just no need for that. You know, he missed rook c7, which is a pretty obvious move. I mean, this was my first candidate. You want to get both pieces active. It's obvious, you know, to mate the white king. So this is like giving you a small chance to survive. And that's an insane move, actually. He's got that beautiful mate there. He couldn't resist, basically, playing that. And then another play for mate. And I said he was a positional player, but I'm having second thoughts. He's very into mate. And then you just allowed rook f2. So apparently you can play king d2. So what's the point here? We're a little closer in the event of rook f2. I would still think this would be horrible for white, but you've got the passed pawn. I guess it's too dangerous, actually. So you played this. This was like losing blunder, rook f2. And then you resigned. What am I missing here? Well, you're just taking on, he's taking on g2. So his pawn is like one pawn faster, one square faster. Yeah, but I mean, it's funny, like, even until the last moment, you're not lost. If you play king d2, your pawn is a weapon. The protected passed pawn is very strong. So this isn't so clear. What's going on? I want to see this with the engine. Apparently d6 is a mistake. No, it's the only move. Yeah, okay, it's the only move. Maybe you were lost anyway. I don't know. But I'm not sure. Rook takes g2, d7. Rook f2. What an awesome line. Rook f2, allowing you to promote. And then g2. Is that insane or what? So he's like down a queen and he's better, according to the engine. Wow. That's crazy. He's down a queen and he's better. It's just evil. Queen g5, g1. Got to give your queen up. And then you're just in a heavy piece ending down a pawn. I mean, this isn't a walk in the park, though, you know, for black. I mean, the computer makes it look easy, but I think it's still a tough game. Anyway, that's pretty crazy, though, that he can let you queen. Very few people would have found that. All right, interesting game, Tushar. But, I mean, playing d5 like that, you know, it just doesn't seem right. Just doesn't seem right in the opening. Okay, guys, let's go on. Asterbait is next, then Bob, Chess, Tosterone, I think. Move 11. All right, so Asterbait is up next. Let's check this out. Canard opening. Asterbait is black here. All right. I'm going to flip the board with the F key. Hey, nice game, Tushar. Don't ever play d5 in that position again. All right? All right. Panda had his say. So S4, what's up? You finished a soccer game. Try doing some game analysis with me here. International Master William Paschall, we're taking subscriber games to analyze on the stream. So Asterbait is up next. Asterbait is black. It's d4, knight f6, and he's trying to play the check Benoni. Asterbait is trying to play like c5, d5, e5 type of setups. And, yeah, Ponda, he really needed that, you know. He knows already what he did wrong. So f4, it's almost like your opponent is psychic or something, Asterbait. He knows you play. Did you play multiple games with this guy? It's like he's trying to prevent like c5, d5, f5. Check Benoni. All right, anyway, you see the stonewall attack a lot, but it's kind of a weird move order. If white wants to play the stonewall attack, you typically recommend it as like e3. I remember when I was a little kid, I had a Soltis book where he did like a book on the stonewall attack, and the recommended approach is like playing e3 and then f4, or maybe e3 bishop d3. This is the way we want to backdoor into the stonewall attack. So like d5, c5, and then maybe f4. We can try to play it here. It's still not a good opening. I don't really believe that the stonewall attack is a good opening, but that's the idea. But by playing it so early, you know, on move 2, I mean, this is very inflexible for white. I mean, I guess there's nothing terribly wrong with it. We'll have to ask our former moderator, Jeroen, what he thinks about it. So there's many ways to approach this position for black. d5, g6, d6, c5. I mean, like in principle, you could argue that d5 is the best move, clamping down on e4. But on the other hand, you could say, okay, challenge white at the point where he's fighting, you know, on e5. So I think there's some logic for, like, you know, recommending d6 as a good move. Problem is we can't really play e5 here. So we'll just have to transpose to a kind of King's Indian sort of setup against the Jeroen. But let's see, c5 and now c3. That's probably a bad move. If you play the stonewall attack, you play this way, probably e3 and recapture here. With e takes d4 in response to c5. I just want to say thanks to everybody for supporting the stream. Thanks for subscribing to my stream. We'll be back tomorrow morning. I just want to clarify. This will not always be set in stone during the summer, but I'm trying to do one stream a week in the morning. So right now we're going to make it Friday morning, which is tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. CE. What am I saying? EDT. I'm so used to being in European time. This is Eastern Daylight Time. So tomorrow, 10 a.m. New York time. Merle, thank you for the support. 100 bits donated by Merle Dixon. He's the bit leader. Zombie bits, zombie bites. All right, c3 and now what? e6. There's nothing wrong with g6. I wouldn't fear him grabbing this pawn on c5. It's one thing. I was also thanks to move 11, I got a new emote. Tactics Footy. Thanks so much, move 11. He activated a football giveaway for 15 others in the chat. 245 bits to be the bit leader for the week. Awesome, move 11. So you guys just have to cheer any amount to activate the football emotes. Sprinkles is new here. What's up? So Astrobate, don't fear the pawn taking on c5. If they're playing this f4, c3, every kind of pawn move, this is greedy to take on c5. You can play g6 if you so desire here. e6 is a good move though. It's very solid. Yeah, baseball emotes would be awesome. I agree. Okay, so e3, he's completing his stonewall. Now, I'm heavily in favor of b6 here. Astrobate breaks with fundamental principles. Ponda. Hello. I just want to remind you guys that it's not good to move the same piece twice at an early stage in the opening unless you have a very good reason, okay? So, a little reminder from Ponda. Principles rule, okay? Soltigo. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks again, Move 11 and Merle Dixon. Those guys with big donations of bits. Move 11 leading the cheers. Opening up the football emotes. I like b6. I'm looking at this position. I'm thinking, how does my bishop get out? And it's like, as a Sicilian player and as a player who plays the hedgehog, I want to get my bishop out this diagonal. Probably to b7, but it's also not ridiculous because White's playing the Stonewall Dutch. That's his good bishop. That's his Stonewall bishop. It's not ridiculous to plan something like bishop a6. You can exchange the bishop off. And if I sound like Marge Simpson, it was by pure accident. All right, bishop a6 is an idea. Mostly you're playing bishop b7. I like b6 the best. Alexander Onishuk. Lost to some guy I've never heard of. Who is that? Okay, Ray Romano took out Onishuk. What? In what tournament was that? 2300, man. Beat Onishuk with a Stonewall attack. That's upsetting. That really upsets me. Anyways, all right, e3, and then Astrobate played knight e4. This is just not really a good move. The whole principle of hypermodernism is about controlling the center without actually occupying it. You don't need to put your knight on e4 to control it. Sound like Grandpa Simpson, absolutely. All right, yeah, this is a weird move. Astrobate, you need to activate quickly. Mobilize all the pieces. So don't play knight e4. Play b6. If you don't like b6, you can play d5. But I would really prefer not to do that. I prefer to keep the diagonal open for the bishop and play it like a hedgehog. And if Ponda was here, he'd be playing for g5 probably. All right, knight e4, very strange move. Now what? Now you're gonna have to support it. So d5. He did not play it. Wow, you landed this. Tactic land with queen h4 check. Oh my god, I didn't even see it. Asterbate was setting him up. I'm so naive. I was like, okay, yeah, 94. It's a bad move. He's setting up the cheap shot here with queen h4. And it's easily met by knight f3. You know, this move is going to be necessary anyway for white. So then you would be asked, okay, what's your plan next? You put your knight on e4 without really needing to put it there. So he plays bishop d3. Now we go into unclearville with queen h4 check. And this is going to be fun. So there's the intermezzo with knight f3 and knight takes g3, knight f3. What's going on? Queen h5. Why h6? It's like a Shirov gambit. How do we decide between h5 and h6? On the surface, I like h5 better. It has a little bit more mobility laterally. But Stockfish is like, no, queen h6. Acerbate's right. You're definitely like not playing queen h3 here because you can get hit by knight g5, no? That looks very dangerous to play queen h3. I would choose queen h5. I mean, I'd like to set up an exchange of queens maybe. But the problem is the rook might come to g5. Maybe Asterbate is a genius. So if knight f5, saving your knight, he has like rook g5. Something along those lines. So queen h6. I guess it makes me nervous that the bishop's on c1. You know, that could open up with like e4 at some point. But I don't think it's going to come to that. Knight d2. Okay, that's a very odd move, one has to conclude. So, Magno Flores just lost his mind. But the real question is what's happening after rook g1, the only move. The only move, and you have to move your knight. And h5 is pretty bad, because it's the side of the board. Knight on the rim is dim. But knight f5 is not pretty either, because, again, like I said, e4. And I don't like that the queen is getting hit by the bishop on c1. Pretty good compensation for white, I would argue, in terms of development. You know, you've got no pieces developed, your queen is running around. And even my Stockfish is coming down with a slight advantage to white. So, I don't know, man. I mean, you know, this is a very, very risky way to play chess, what you went for here. And whatever happens, happens. But I don't think you had anything really better. I guess you didn't have better. It's like it works out to be a good gambit for white, or at least a reasonable gambit for white. Knight f5, e4, with compensation for the material. And I don't know, knight h4. Then, what should he do? Well, you don't really have a threat. I guess you could try to grab another pawn on h2, but that'll get your queen trapped. So, what's happening here is totally not clear. Knight takes f3 check, develop another piece for white. Yeah. So don't be tempted by this kind of crazy stuff with queen h4. You get in trouble this way. You're lucky, though. He decided to be generous and give you a rook. C takes d4, and you didn't take it. Aw, man. You got to take the rook. You just believed him. No. You wanted to give him a take back, basically, but he wouldn't allow it, so instead you didn't take his rook. But not the second time, you saw it. So now it's over. You're up too much material. Okay, we still got to get developed, though. Got to get your pieces developed. Bishop b4. I don't mind it. It's your good bishop, but you're up a rook, so we can trade stuff. This is awkward. No. I like either exchanging or like going back to maybe e7. a3 didn't benefit him too much. You know, you need to think about getting your pieces out. b6, bishop b7. Maybe we have to write the knight off. He can trap your knight with queen g2. Just write it off. Tax deduction. Spectacular Camel was talking about taxes. So this knight is taxable. Taxable deduction. No, bishop f5, a5 is really weird. b4, bishop c7. And now knight c4. Too much material. But there's still chances. And then d5 here. That's strange, going away from the center. And then a6 is also strange. I think you can take it. You can play b6. Keep in mind, your king is safe. You have a lot of pawn safety here. So even if he checks you, just put your king on e7. And you're perfectly safe. Soltigo will testify to the safety of the king in the center. Our moderator. Man, Asterbate, good to see the pony. Unlock the pony by being a tier 2 subscriber. No one's unlocked the Joker. Knight a5, a6, knight e5, queen h4 check. Yeah, the problem with a6, it like further makes your bishop a bad piece. That's why I wanted to play b6 instead of playing a6. I want to get my bishop out. I want to get all my pieces harmonious. And now, this actually forces a trade of queens if you play queen h1 check, which he did. But Asterby didn't follow up by trading queens. Instead, he took on b5, which is a really crazy move. You can just trade queens with queen h2 check and take the free knight on a5. It's game over. But he played this, and now White has a little bit of play. Now trading queens. At least if you get the queens off the board, that's sensible. White's initiative. He has a little initiative. Now he dropped a piece. This should be more than enough. You're up a rook. Don't tell me this wasn't a win. It better be. Easy win. Up too much material. Finally castling, but you know, you could play king e7. King f7 maybe, yeah. Here. Nice move. Nice move with the knight a4 acerbate. Finishing him off. Too much pieces now. This is over, obviously. He gave you everything, trying for stalemate. There's no stalemate with the bishop on the board, is there? Mate in 2. Nice. Alright, good job. But knight e4 was too crazy. Like, you ought to play a more principled move. This is really a cheapo, you know, playing knight e4. I actually didn't even pay attention and see you had this queen h4 check at first. Such an alien position for me, but yeah. He should just play knight f3, casting down on knight e4. Yeah, actually, the way he played it might have been a good... This might have been a good gambit, surprisingly. Sort of suckered you into this. And the final analysis there is not clear. It's like a crazy King's Gambit line. Okay, guys. Let me check if we got another game. Yabatas also submitted a game. I'm going to try to get to as many as I can. Hopefully we'll get to all of them. Bob is up next. All right, Mr. Bob. Mr. Bob, just titled Analysis. This is Bob against some guy. Was this from the tournament that we played? You guys hear the rain? 15 plus 15 rated 3 days ago. No. Okay, not from our Tuesday tournament. Guys, another reminder. Just let me know that you remember tomorrow's stream is in the morning, 10 a.m. We're going to move the Fridays to mornings for the most part, just to kind of mix it up so the European players can see one stream at a human time every week. So Bob is white. He played e4, d5, f3. Oh my god. It's like the Damiano defense with the tempo up. This guy is 2200. Wow. 2200 in Turtle Chess. He's 2000 in Rapid. So strong player in long time control, Bob's playing. Bob, what are you doing with f3? Whew, f3 is a crazy move. I mean, if he takes you, transpose to some kind of King's Gambit, but actually not even but it will likely become a king's gambit if he cooperates. But if he doesn't, you just have a bad position. Unbelievably, black played c6 here because he wants to transpose to a known opening, like the fantasy variation of the Caro-Kann. But obviously e5 is the move. Acerbate would play this. He's gone for queen h4 check. I mean, after e5, white is worse, no doubt. You're playing the Damiano with the extra move. Damiano being like e4, e5, you know, knight f3, f6, like trying to do that. It's a little different. It's not exactly a Damiano reversed. It could transpose. So c6, man, that's like the worst move black can play. To transpose to a legitimate opening now with c6, it's like, what can I do to legitimize my opponent's f3? I think I'll play c6. Like, literally any other move. Like, knight f6 is good, knight c6 is good, e5 is good, c5 is good. g6 is probably good. But g6 not that good. You know, but really, like, g6 and c6 sort of legitimize it. But this is like literally the only move that's really good for black. I mean white. d4, Bob's like, okay, I surprised you. I tricked you into the fantasy variation of the Caro-Kann. Bob played f3 and the guy cooperated. And he played, oh yeah. And this is pretty good. Okay, now e6. The classical way to play against the fantasy variation, f3 against the Caro-Kann, is like take, and e5. But, you know, this line, I'm not sure black, you know, can equalize that clearly in these lines. It looks like white has pretty good play in this type of variation. Look at this, those statistics. I was saying earlier today that, like, you know, less than 30 games. But if you take this as a whole, that's like, what, 50, 60, 65 games. White is a very good score here. I think overall, bishop c4, that's bordering on statistically significant. I'd rather see 100 games, but I'm pretty sure that white has a good chance here. h5, the pawn to move. Alright, this e6 is kind of like the main line. That's what I have played with black, although I never had it in a tournament game. Now Bob plays what? Main line. Also, bishop e3 is a move. I know that Brian Smith, I thought Brian Smith did a series on this on chesslecture.com, a site that I helped to start, still functioning. Really good site for chess videos, a subscriber-based site. You can check it out, chesslecture.com. I don't think they have a special offer at the moment, but you should check the site if you're interested. Very good content. So, now knight f6 is a move that actually transposes to the classical French, if white is so inclined. So I never played that move. I've always played like bishop b4, which is complicated, to say the least. What's funny is, look at this position. Like, white has literally like 6 legitimate moves here. At least 5. Bishop f4, knight e2, bishop d2, a3, and queen d3. You know, and who knows, there's maybe even others. I mean, bishop e3 could be like a pawn sacrifice as well. I just don't know how we play after that. I guess queen d2 or something. How would you respond to f takes e4? That's the problem. Like, there's no good waiting move for white here. So bishop e3 not commonly played. All the other moves are good. Bob plays... Bob does not play because knight f6 is played. Now e5 transposes to the classical French, which I guess is what most people do. Well, if black plays c5. Is there any independent try? Knight g8 looks bad, so you have to go here, and then f4. And then black can transpose to the classical French, or try something else, I guess. There's actually Kasparov versus Caruana. That's one of those rapid games or whatever. Or maybe even Blitz. But b6, I would imagine, would be a move. It's just kind of slow. To try to play like bishop a6, it looks too slow. Like f5 is just too strong, probably. Leela chess would just rake you over the coals here. Don't want to be... I did some analysis of a few Leela chess games today, and looking them over, It's very, very strong in space advantage and coordination of the pieces. These seem to be like the two predominant strengths of Leela chess. Just exploiting space advantages and coordinating. And like it would just rip you apart from this position. F5, forget about it. I mean, maybe it's not that simple, but it just looks like a Leela chess kind of thing. It would do this F5. Saul, thanks for the donation. 100 to see unusual openings one day. All right. Yeah, we can try to switch up the streams. Maybe make an unusual openings. Because I'm not doing the streams on Wednesday. Maybe I'll switch it up and make a Monday unusual openings. Monday or Friday. Maybe Monday we can do an unusual opening, Saul. So I'll keep that as a suggestion, sir. We can make one stream serve that purpose. F5 now, even Stockfish is coming around and saying F5 is the best move. Anyway, I'm pretty far afield. Bob played Bishop G5. Reasonable move. Bishop E7, passive. Now E5, and it's like a French, but both sides are down a tempo. Blacks played like C6, we played F3. It's like the Alekhine-Chittard variation. You could play H4 here. But not really. I don't like it. You probably have to take. I mean, it wouldn't be absurd to play like Bishop E3, but it looks slow, like you've lost the tempo. So you want to trade the dark square bishops. And then F4. He didn't play F4. This is also an interesting move, like trying to get control of dark squares. Yeah. Interesting, Bob. A3. I mean, any move that really tries to control the dark squares I kind of like. But, I mean, these are much more formative. I mean, Queen D2. Queen E2 and F4. How long? I'll be here for the whole summer, till the end of August. I'll see you later, Saul. Thanks for the suggestion. And thanks for the bit donation. Try to implement an occasional weird opening stream. Even though we have Wednesdays off. So A3 is slow, though. If you don't like F4, Bob, you should consider playing Queen D2. And then you can meet, the feared Queen B4 with, like, castles long and a good game. A3 gets a little bit slow award. Same idea. See, now you didn't need A3 and Queen D2. Man, this guy's pretty good. There goes the center. F4. Yeah, what else? He's breaking up your center. She's breaking up, Captain. Okay, that was the worst Scotty imitation ever. I need to practice my Star Trek. Alright, I'll never do that again. C5. Remind me never to do that again, Panda. He's just laughing at me. Alright, anyway, we tried.
No!
No, we're never doing that again. Castle's queenside. Yeah. The center seems to be melting down, sir. She's melting down, sir. Yeah, you need to support the center. I don't know. Knight F3 looks a little bit more relevant than Castle's queenside. But you're going to get hit either way. Either way. What about giving up the center? We just pretend we're Nimzovich. Just give it up, Bob. Bob no doubt considered, queen takes F6 a problem because it's like a double attack against this point and this point. But you can still just hold the position with knight here, and maybe you can complete your development with like G3, Bishop G2, something like that. You think you played F3 because you forgot what color I was. You were trolling the guy, and you made him underestimate you. It was like the time I moved twice in Hastings, and the old man I was playing, who was a master, he just like didn't know what was coming. I just played a great game after like trying to make an illegal move, and he underestimated me clearly after that. I don't know, Bob. It just looks like your center is gonna just evaporate now. Knight C6, and then you have the in-between move. Perhaps someone made a bad choice of move order. He could have simply taken first and then played Knight C6, and Bob would be left scratching his head. Alright. Knight c6. Yeah, I did this. You don't know that story, JCS? This was years ago. It was the story I told a lot. I was waiting and waiting and waiting forever for this guy to move around, on the move, and it was like 25 minutes or something. And I was, at some point, I just had a mirage that he like made a move because it was taking forever. So I decided he played queen e7. His queen was already on e7. But he had played like a BOGO, and his queen was on e7, and his pawn was on d6, and like you kind of forget, like it all looks the same at that point, like queen on e7, queen on d8. So I just thought, oh, he played queen e7. Anyway, Bob should have lost the pawn, but fortunately for Bob, he didn't. And then he makes a very strange decision, putting his queen on f2. That's a rook on f8 right there. Bob, hello? That's a rook. That's your queen. All right? Think about this line. Why not just simply, like, the normal move here? Let's not put our queen in the line of the rook on f8 and say we did. It's funny, like, there is no other good move. This is just asking for trouble with that queen. He wanted to come over here, though. Bob was being adventurous. He wanted to come over here. All right, Bob, I understand. You wanted to do something aggressive. But it's asking for trouble with that rook on the line. If something bad happened to you, it's completely your fault. The thing is, JCS, I might have actually done it in another game later, but it was less of a big deal. Kind of like I just tried to do it, and my opponent was like, no, you already... I don't remember now. It might have happened a second time. Bob, you're not developing your pieces. You need to develop your pieces. Chess is easy. Just adhere to the principles and stay principled, and that's all you need to do. Rook e1, moving the same piece twice. Now your opponent is guilty of the same thing you did, moving the same piece again instead of mobilizing. Okay, he has a reason to. I mean, your rook is on e1. Queen d6 appeals to me more than queen f7, because it looks like queen f7 is walking into this knight g5 attack. I mean, even queen d8, it looks a little abstract, undeveloping, huh? The guy was clearly concerned about like knight b5 or something. But the funny thing is that he can play queen b8, and he also has this nice intermezzo knight g4, which Bob was kind enough to put his queen on f2. It doesn't mean you lose the game. That's only in blitz. Illegal moves only lose in blitz, JCS, don't worry. It's usually like a time penalty. Like they'll take time off your clock or something. No, as far as I know, illegal moves only lose in blitz. Who knows? Maybe FIDE has changed the rules. Queen f7 looks a bit strange. Now Bob is picking up steam, but he's dropping f4 with check. Oops. I have this feeling Bob's going to win this game. No, he lost. Okay. It almost looked okay there for a minute, Bob. What happened here? So, you got him a little bottled up. He still hasn't achieved the freeing break. You missed this queen h4. Actually, I thought that was your intention when you played queen f2, ironically. This stops knight g4. That would have been pretty good. I mean, the guy could trade queens to some weird move like queen h5. That doesn't look like a problem. Queen g6 looks very awkward, walking into attack. So Bob missed his golden opportunity for queen h4. So illegal moves, according to Spectacular Camel, also lose in rapid. That's interesting. It would probably be good to know that. I'm surprised by that rule. Wow. Are you sure about that, Spectacular Camel? Wow. That's brutal if they lose in rapid. I wasn't aware of that. I don't know, when the last time I played with in a rapid tournament was. Probably a couple of years ago. I probably haven't played one in like 2 years. Well, anyway, Bob loses this pawn, and losing this pawn, he's got big problems. Now you traded queens. Can you avoid the exchange of queens? Not really. Yeah. So Spectacular Camel won a game like this with an illegal move. This is interesting. So here Bob's thinking outside the box. He might have had knight h3, knight g5 with tempo. But instead he made this very natural move toward the center. Black played rook f8, allowing knight g5. Again, there's another strong move, knight f7. Very nicely coordinated, the knight h6, knight f7, controlling the key squares, g5 and e5. Black is just going to consolidate that extra pawn and slowly win. Man, this was... Yeah, again, Bob underestimates like a self... He makes a self-pin, almost, with rook f1. It was kind of like what you did with queen f2. Okay, it's easy to sit here and say what the computer says, but I mean, this threat is forcing an awkward move by black. Either knight f5 or like g6. Let's say g6. You're just dropping this pawn. I mean, that's just terrible for black. This is just a double threat, Bob. No, you don't. You're not allowed to not see that move. How's the time situation? It was a fairly long time troll. Yeah, Bob has more time than he started with. Bob was busy like trolling people or something instead of finding knight to g5. No. There's no excuse for not seeing this. Golden opportunity. Now rook f1 is a very bad move. I mean, even, well, this is protected. Okay, true enough. But you don't want to trade pieces when you're down a pawn. Knight e2 was reasonable. But the center is too strong, you know? You just dropped your central pawn. You don't think you calculate. You're playing like troll on a roll. Basically, Bob. You have any relation to troll on a roll? We haven't seen him in a while here on the stream. But in that sense, you're playing very similar to troll. Yeah, I don't like b4. Weakening your queen side without a reason. I mean, c4 makes a lot more sense. You want to destabilize the center. The last thing you want to see is the center rolling down on, at you with very, fluid, in a very fluid way. If you play c4, it's like Nimzovich. You're either going to break up a center or he's going to have to make it like stagnant and broken up. And you can blockade something like knight g3 going for the e4 square. You've got counterplay at least if you play c4. b4 has really nothing to do with the position. I mean, maybe there's some fantasy of playing knight, let's say, I don't know, knight c1, knight b3, but it takes forever. I'm getting a challenge right now, but I'm not going to take that. I'm doing game analysis. This is the nightmare scenario. French defense, it's actually Caro-Kann, but French defense where the pawns become fluid and they're just strong and rolling down on you. So now it's really bad. And it's too little too late. A little bit of counterplay, but too late. Bob tries to blockade, but he's allowing this exchange of pieces. I don't know, can you play knight takes? It's probably better to play knight takes and not trade all the rooks off. It's just amazing white's still even alive here, down a clear pawn. Some chance for blockade. Again, c4, recommended by the computer to break that pawn, the pawn duo up. Knight d4 is decent, but I would have improved my worst piece with knight e3 first. The knight on f1's doing nothing. Here, and then Bob equalized. What happened to black here? Wow, he totally fell asleep. But that's what you don't want to have happen. The pawns become blockaded. How did he let the pawns become blockaded? So, yeah, knight e3 is... It almost... I said it was the better move, but it would have forced black to make the correct response. After this, he did the wrong move. Now he can't play knight f6, and Bob just wins the pawn with knight e3. Hello. Knight f7, knight takes d5. It's totally equal. Knight e5, knight e3, blockading, safe move. Okay. Now, Bob, it's time for your king. Good job. King b2. Let's get the king active. I like it. I like king c3. Technically, I mean, black has the only passed pawn on e4. But you already have a strong king coming in. And I don't think h5 is a big deal. We can probably ignore that. But you do need a plan here. He's got your king boxed out. It looks like Bob is aiming to get his king to d4. I thought he was aiming for king d4. King b4 is ambitious and interesting. Trying to make a run for it with the king. Okay, I like this too. Now knight e6. This is an important decision moment. I can already see the writing on the wall. Like, Bob walks his king up to b6. The first knights are exchanged. And then he allows, like, knight g4 and trades it, and, like, black has a passed pawn or something. Yeah, here's an important point. You can play king c5 and shoulder his king. I mean, it may not make a big difference, but it's slightly more accurate. You've got to watch out for this knight g4, though. That's literally like one of the only ways you could theoretically lose. This is exactly what I figured would happen. Knight g4. And you're still better. So you just have to be able to retreat. Bob was calculating like races and lost, but it looks like you can take and come back. What is this? 4 pawns each. Very weird king and pawn endgame. But I mean, I think you're out of the woods. He does have b5 check. You could play a4 next move. This is the best move. Look at that. King e5, a4. Literally preventing b5 check. And then he's got no threat, really. I think black's kind of lucky he's not worse here. He is worse. Computer's taking a while to kind of figure this out. It looks really, really touch and go. b6, g3, g5. Tempo battle, c3. White's winning. And I don't have enough time to let my engine run on this all night. I mean, where is this position going after a4? Is this a win for white? Does anyone have a fast computer to just verify this? Something super fast? Because this is like, Stockfish just can't calculate this fast enough, and it's too many pawns for a table base. I wasn't sure if this is a win. I mean, this is weird. But white is the better structure, I guess, with those double pawns over there. Also, the more outside pawns. It's a little surprising. It's like a forced win, but it's basically just looks wrong. Well, let's say what are black's options really? Like e3, king d3, king f4. You know, what do we do here? We have c4. This is a very powerful weapon. But you have to play it right. Okay, so c4 b6 or c4 e2. That's an awesome line. I take back says, why not just calculate? Well, I mean, I kind of want to get in the rest of the games. That's the only reason I take back. That I don't want to do like massive, deep analysis because there's a bunch of games still and we have a limited amount of time. That's the only reason why I'm like reluctant to calculate this all myself. But this looks kind of critical. Okay, e3, king d3, and now king f4 or e2. But e2, if e2 doesn't work, maybe white is toast. I mean, black is toast. So here, here. Wow. And if you go over to get that pawn, then I'm going to come up and get this pawn. This is very insane. a5. Do I need to say we have no link to the game to start with? Bob put it in there. King c3. I thought you guys would get creative, you know. King e3. I could be nice and put the link in there. It's already in though. King b4, king f4, king takes a5, king takes g4. Now we're coming back. Man, this is a race now. King b4, so there's no time to come back. It's crazy. Comes down to an absolute race. King g5. Unknown and losing. Don't tell me it's going to be like mutual promotion. I have the feeling. Oh my god. Does this variation work? b5. Bob saw this, obviously. King takes g6. King takes c2. h5. b4. Mutual promotions. h6. b3. h7. b2. Queen. This is obviously all forced. Queen. And Stockfish has the definitive assertion here that it's a draw. According to table base. Though far from easy. I wouldn't have known this was a draw. Actually, a knight pawn. I had a really insane game with Nick DeFermian. Wow, I'm kind of surprised that it's a draw, according to the table base. White to move, and the knight pawn. Anyway, crazy endgame, Bob. Crazy endgame. So in the actual game, it was like e3. Bob moved his knight back to f1. This was a huge blunder. And now black is like better. e3. Knight takes. I mean, it would be better to probably blockade Bob with knight g3. Then you've got a chance. It's not clear at all. Bob just gave up the knight here. Panic mode. Yeah, this is bad. And black messed this up? Are you serious? Wow. So apparently there's like a big difference as to which way he goes here. He should have gone for your a pawn. With knight c4 check, king takes b7, knight takes a3. Freezing the pawn. I mean, this makes a massive difference. Here, if king takes pawn, knight takes pawn, you're playing like king d5 and just winning. So if you take the other way, as in the game, here a4, this was a bad move. But it's hard to see with the limited amount of time. Both these guys were playing blitz. I don't know. Yeah, okay, I mean, he played a little weakly for 2200, but he still played reasonably. But man, I mean, this position is sort of bizarre. Okay, now you're apparently drawing here? That's hard to believe. Wow. But I guess, what can you do? h4. Bob, this is going to take the whole stream to analyze this ending. h4, king c5. Very interesting. Knight e3, and the knight doesn't have time to take the pawn and stop the other. So a5. And it's an absolute mess. Everything's a draw, Bob. King d4. It's a draw. This is a draw too. Weird. But you blundered with king a6. King d5. King b5. And now g5. Can he mess this up? h3, double question mark. Well, you know, I mean, I don't think it really makes a difference. Does it? g3. Aha. So it does make a difference because the pawn we capture closer. Bob never thought of that. The thing can take the pawn on g2 and then get back in time. And if you do g3, that's insane. So if we do g3, you leave the base of your pawn chain on h2 instead of on g2. Now taking the h pawn is further away. That's pretty crazy. So there may be some obscure way to try to survive here. Check. Let's say like king b6, g4. Yeah, this isn't that clear. Strangely, it's some sort of Zugzwang. Zugzwang. Wow. This is weird. King here, knight c4. Interesting technique. King d7. Knight b6, you drop the pawn. Man, that takes insane technique for black to win. He has to be like perfect. Knight takes a4, king f6, and then just in time. Knight c5. King g5, knight d3. King takes h5, knight f2, and it's over. Alright, really interesting endgame, Bob. I didn't expect this crazy endgame. Alright, next game is, so, Testosterone. Move 11. I take back and Yobates. We got to move faster here. So I only have like 40 minutes left in the stream. Alright, a little bit faster. We got 40 minutes for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many games do we have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Why do I have just 4? Well, Merle Dixon has a game. Alright. So basically we have like 8 minutes per game. I'm not doing Yobates. That's the last one. Sorry. Alright. Interesting endgame. You gotta love endgames, Bob. I take back submitted a 10 move game. That'll be great. Well, you can analyze mine really quick. Just a silly game that you enjoyed. That's Turkey. Turkey Farm. Alright. Alright, that's this game here. So you say it was a silly game that you enjoyed. Alright. So this is Testosterone was black. Turkey Farmer. Haven't seen your game yet, Neffy. I don't think Neffy I've submitted a game. Have you already analyzed your game, Neffy? When did you submit your game? Where is it? Did you sneak one in before? I didn't see it. Oh, he snuck one in 1 day ago. Ah, alright. We'll do Nefidov first. We got a lot of games today. Nefidov is white. 8 minutes a game. So Nefidov is white. Yeah, good thing you reminded me. Nefidov with a very low Centipon loss. So this is classical Sicilian. Roy Lopez. It's, yeah, you should have reminded me sooner. Maybe you did and I didn't see it. So Bishop c5, it's not a bad line. You know, I'm surprised it's not played more often. Anyway, I won't go into too much detail, but after castles, this is, you know, I think that this is maybe a new trend. I don't know, you know, knight d4, because relatively new. I mean, I thought that classically, like, knight f6 was the main line. The so-called classical Berlin classical, or Berlin classical, whatever you want to say. Classical Berlin or Berlin classical. It's a good thing that Bob asked. Yeah, that game slipped through the cracks. So knight d4 turns out to be main line, like the bird's defense. Here black could take either way. I like the bishop takes, keeping the diagonal open. c3, bishop back, d4. I'm sure that white doesn't have to play d4. You could play more conservative, like d3, d4. Critical, though. c6, here. Okay. Right. This is an interesting position. I mean, again, similar to the bird's defense, where the bishop can retreat back on the two diagonals, and I never know, like, which way. It feels weird to play bishop c4 in a sense, because you're going to get hit by d5 with tempo, right? But then black will have that isolated pawn, so he doesn't really want to do that. Bishop a4 is also good. This turns out to be theory. d5 just leaves us with a bad structure, okay? And the e5 pawn has to be protected. You know, giving up the center also, I guess, is a concession. Playable. Playable, but, man, giving up the center. Stockfish wants to play bishop f4, sacking a pawn. Interesting stuff. So here, d6, this is apparently like theory, and the main line is d takes e5 because of queen h5, I presume. Let's just see quickly what's the main line here. They played this. D takes e5, d takes e5. I was expecting queen h5, and I assumed that's what Nefi was going to play. Instead, he traded queens. I mean, this seems really mild, trading queens. Because Nefi, I don't know, that's the main line according to the few games there are, but it looks kind of uninspiring to me. Ladin Palic, drew Gawain Jones. I mean, why even play d takes e5 then? I don't like d takes e5 if it's just going to trade stuff, Seems like white should try for more somehow. But how? This queen b3 move the engine is recommending has a bad score, but again, sample size, not relevant. Here's a good move, like keeping the tension queen d3. I kind of like this. That looks like a kind of normal, keep the tension, try to slowly build the position type of move. That's interesting, although you'll still have to fear e5 in the future. Knight f6. And then bishop g5 apparently. There's a couple games. Walter played bishop g5. This is kind of weird though. You don't want to give up your dark squared bishop. Alright. So anyway, Nefedov seems to know the line. He takes. I would have played queen h5 here. I don't want to trade queens. Black's supposed to play queen e7. There's a Kroftsiv game. And Romanishин. 2 Kroftsiv games. It's like the Ukrainian attack. Pavel. Queen e7. You gotta wonder, is there a connection? Just ancient aliens. Makes you wonder. This Ukrainian attack with queen h5. Is it connected? Bishop g5. It's a complicated question. Bishop g5. Anyway, queen e7, bishop g5, knight f6. This looks fun, more fun, than other lines. Queen h4. Something like this. Romanishин in 1976 had this game. So, queen f3, another move. Anyway, so you traded queens. Ultra safe. But does white really have an advantage here? Okay, bishop e3. He didn't play it. I mean, anyway, I don't think that white really has an advantage. Stockfish, I don't believe it. It's like the problem is after bishop e3, bishop e6 looks too solid. I just don't buy this. Here's a game, this Bernaditsky or Bernatsky. That's like a Israeli guy. I think he played in the Spring Festival. Pretty strong, relatively young player. You got to ask yourself, does white really have an advantage here? I'm not seeing it. Actually, Pavel played what? A3, A4. Okay, A4. I was afraid he was playing A3. I was like, what? So this is still theory. Pavel, how did you know this line? It's so obscure. But this has a good score. Nikolai Yandamirov. I'm talking about sample size. But I mean, when I see it's like 4-0, that seems to mean something. Visually, anyway. Like, A4 is a good move against bishop b6. So he's basically clamping down and preventing bishop b6. And in the event of a5, bishop b3, there's no more bishop b6. These guys are you sure this wasn't a correspondence game? Are you sure you guys weren't like playing with open book? A lot of theory going on here, but castles is apparently a new move. They believed him. Castles is like a novelty, a TN, stockfish. So Johnny Hector. What did Johnny Hector do? He played knight takes e4 and white got a big attack after rook e1. I was hoisted on my own petard, my sample size petard. Yeah. Knight takes e4. Too dangerous. So this is a TN by Nefedov's opponent, which looks solid. It's on there on official Summer League. It's just such a weird line, like so random. You've transposed to Paul Motwani from 1983 with 92. But I've got to say I like the computer's F3 because I'd rather play bishop E3 first than block my bishop with knight D2. The Scottish, is he a GM, Motwani? He's a GM, right? F3. Scottish GM. B6 or B5. White's a little better. I like F3. Played this, rook E8, rook E1, kind of boring. And then, okay. Computer doesn't like bishop E6. So he's supposed to seek some sort of... This looks like a move I would make in Blitz and then lose against I take back. And then wonder why I lost. It's a tempting move, but it is black's good bishop. And it is white's like bad bishop, technically. So the computer likes playing for counterplay without trading. B4. Right about now, I would start thinking about king F1. Does that make sense? Try to get that king a little closer to the center, maybe? Anyway. Pavel's better. He's got a good knight. I like the way he played this. He has a space advantage. But black's grabbing the D file. And that's really annoying. That's very, very annoying. Bishop G5 was a good move. Chop it off. I like it. Now you got good knight against bad bishop. You grab the file. Nice advantage. I mean, I don't think you have to trade here necessarily, but if you have a good reason to, I don't mind. I don't mind trading one rook. I think I'd rather not trade both. Greedy move, but okay, you know, it's a pawn. Hard to argue with taking this. Computer sees further. Very hard to argue with capturing that pawn, but look at that, man. That's genius. He gave up the pawn to get the file. Very nice counterplay. Wow. The knight F3 was too passive. So my suggestion earlier of king F1 now comes to the fore. And after king F1, he's still better. But it's amazing. Look at the advantage white has here. If he just builds on the position without being materialistic. Because now he has a double threat. I mean, there's rook D7 and there's knight takes E5. And obviously rook takes D8. So Pavel, if he'd been a little more patient, was probably like close to winning here. If he doesn't take the pawn right away. But taking the pawn right away, this was analyzed, yeah. This was a slight inaccuracy. So nice D by the opponent there to get counterplay. And I thought you would play rook E3 and agree to a draw by rep or something. Rook E3, rook D1, rook E3, rook D1. It was a draw. Pavel chose bishop C1. Man, that's nice D by black, though. Really. Nice save. White's a tiny bit worse, but it's a draw. Okay, guys, let's move on. I'm limited on time, so I want to get to the rest of the games. We got Testosterone. I was about to start this game, and I stopped. He said it was a silly game. But I think there's a lot to be taken away from the Nefyedov game. The opening's interesting. Mild, quiet line, but he managed to get a serious edge, and then was too materialistic. It looks like. In the wrong moment. So Testosterone is black here. Let's take a quick look. Modern defense C3. Yeah, that's really solid and tough. C3, D6, F3. Yeah, I've seen people do this. You know, the F3, C3. It's sort of ridiculous. See there, Shuba did it against Badea. Takács Béla in Hungarian. He changed his name to Badea Béla. Alright. So the normal continuation here is bishop d3. There's an interesting line that David Norwood played against a friend of mine. He did like knight f6 and after f4. This is a variation. You have a really nice gambit here with c5. D takes c5 and castles. And I don't know that this is even in the database. This is Norwood. David Norwood. sacking a pawn, it's a really, really nice idea. Norwood was like this guy, this grandmaster who's retired from playing actively, but he always plays g3 and g6 like every single game. This is a very, very nice pawn sack, but you know, obviously not relevant to this game. So f3, that's a weird move from the guy. What are you gonna do when they come for you? All right, whatever, f3. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it looks like you should probably do some more flexible setup, like knight to d7, a6, or maybe sans a6. Maybe a hippo, or some sort of hippo with like c5. I like knight d7. I kind of agree with that, you know, with this weird setup. Maybe not put your knight on f6 right away. So let's see quickly. I was actually thinking like white might play g4, literally. Maybe not right now, but later. Okay, g3 is not ridiculous. Castles. You know, in the Pierts, you have to be thoughtful about delaying castling a lot. But okay, you're playing in a very classical way here. This is typically a bad move. I remember it was a Bombist, or no, somebody else. It wasn't Bombist. Another guy played d5 against me in a similar position. It's just bad. c6, good job. c6 is just very strong, and then you can do like there was a reminded me of a Blackburn game where he was black and he did like b5 and c4 b5. That's extremely strong for black, just blowing up white's entire center. This is like Tushar's game, but on the 10th power. Just destroyed the center. It's not the Roy Lopez. But this is horrible. So this actually happened. Oh my god. And you see, if you'd watched my stream today, Chestosterone, you would have known about b5. Because I would have told you that that's a strong move, even without Stockfish running. So that's huge. That's a huge moment. So you did CD, CD. And now white's still kind of okay, you know. b6 is a little hesitant. A little too hesitant. He can even play bishop f1. I would just comfortably play bishop f1 here. Walk the king over to g2, no problem. You're actually trading off your good bishop for his bad bishop here. Yeah. So, feisty play on the queen side, but black's got, you know, now some play on the c file. It's not a bad move. a4, rook c8, bishop here. I don't understand, like, the computer says black has a big advantage, knight h5, but what does knight h5 really do? Just gonna play f5 like a King's Indian? It's more of a King's Indian now than a Pierts. White's moved all these pawns. I mean, it's just too many moves. Bishop's kind of funny. I like it. He should have traded it off with bishop f1. That was extremely strong. Now knight c5. He realized he had a bad bishop, apparently. Oh man, knight d3 check. This is weird. Now you need to play f5. Yeah, rook b8 is awkward. But what are you going to do? Queen b1. And apparently what? Knight d7 is good. Yeah? Now you've got f5. I mean, you're basically you're ready to go. Just in time. f5. Yeah, it's all good. Now you just got a really good King's Indian. You've got clearance for this lateral transfer from rook b7. I mean, that's brutal. Black just totally took over. You spent 3 minutes on rook b8. Wow. No, this is a nice game. f4 is very strong. And you're crashing through. You're just winning. That just wins material. Yeah, classic King's Indian. Again, like Nefedov, maybe the computer's right not to be materialistic. We're all too materialistic so often, you know, focusing on stuff. I would have played rook takes f3 too, but it's interesting to consider alternatives. Rook f1, queen f6. Yeah, I don't know what to do here. Rook f6 is a hard move to find. There's this Petrosian move, rook f4. That's just ill. Petrosian did this in, I should say Petrosian, you know, he did this in a King's Indian in a really nice game where he defended down the exchange. But, yeah, this is nice. Instead, you did like more routine move. I mean, well, you know, it's a limited amount of time. But trading queens is a bad decision by white. You know, he should try to find some kind of complication instead. Now it's getting kind of weird. Rook takes d3, rook takes f1 check. So he's toast. Maybe you didn't play the most accurate. After all this, you're like just a pawn up. Still winning. But, you know, you're making it like kind of long-winded. Now it's over. There. Alright. That's game over. Okay, guys, next game. Thanks for that. I like the demonstration there. I take back. I mean, sorry, it's Turkey Farm, but there would have been, you know, there would have been that b5 right away in the opening, man. That was beautiful. You got to go for that. Joseph Henry Blackburn. And Blackburn did it like in 1800s. You know, that's the scary thing. He knew about that 130 years ago or something. Okay, move 11 is up next. We get a quick look at this. At this time, we can look at my game as black and the ready here. Game 2 in the study. Is this the game? Yeah. I guess this is the game. Okay. So, move 11 is black. It's already G3, D5, B3, you know. B3 is like straight up ready. I mean, I don't know, you know, what the best move is. C5 is also good. Because you could get, I guess, a type of Tarash after pawn takes pawn D4. But I suppose there's something wrong with this. I didn't realize this is so bad for white, though. The computer says this is like awful for white. So takes, check. Or knight e4. Wow. That's surprising. White can't play d4 right away. And if he doesn't do it, then there's like d4 for black, I would assume. No games in the database. That's weird. I mean, this is really interesting. Maybe black's overextended. I'm not sure. Something to think about. Playing c5, you know, is an option. This is more traditional. So here, c5 now. Yeah, again, like a more traditional move order. So bishop b2. He's just letting you play d4. But this is the main line. Okay, if d4, e3, it's good for white, probably. Though there's Nakamura games here. So Hikaru thinks this is okay. Interesting. Yeah, the move order is much more often knight c6. But I was drawn to d4 myself. So here, I've had this position with white, you know. I got run over once in a position like this where I was white, where I played too passively against Sabo Christian. I think I played inaccurately and just too passive, and he just got a good game. White has to be like careful about like not letting black play e5 too quickly. If you do that, you just end up like playing a bad Benoni or something. So, you know, any move here, you don't want to play like d3. Like e5, black already has a good game. I think I did something like that stupidly once. You've got to prevent that from happening. But move 11's game is quite different. Like black plays knight c6, and then there's this exchange on d5. Now after ed, d4, we reach like a standard Tarash. This is no longer a Reti. So if I were you, move 11, I would consider playing knight takes d5, because I think this move is more solid. Anytime you make a piece move rather than a pawn move, your structure remains a little bit more solid. This is like a kind of semi-Tarash, I guess, almost, after d4. But this is riskier. And then he does d4, which is critical. I mean, d3 is kind of passive for white. I think white doesn't have anything after that. Just lame. So you have to do d4, and now this is a transposition. This is no longer a Reti. What does it call it? It says Neo-Catalan. Okay, but now we've transposed to a Tarash. This is no longer a Neo-Catalan. This is like a straight-up Tarash. With the knight not being on c3, the computer, or I guess the opening explorer, doesn't consider it a Tarash, but that's still Tarash. So bishop e6 is like inaccurate. I guess knight e4. And the idea is to meet like knight c3 with bishop f6, I believe. Yeah. I've seen this. I don't know, though. It's a little weird for white. It just feels a little bit weird. I'm not sure. You have to be knowledgeable to play this. I guess e3, if nothing else, would be a reasonable move. But it looks like knight a4. Not a move I would find over the board necessarily. And then taking is a move. So that's kind of the main way it should go. You play knight e4. He trades it off. You play bishop f6. I mean, I guess the same would apply on knight d2. We still play bishop f6. I mean, this is the whole pin. The counter pin here is black's main idea in these Tarrasch positions. To check, Mr. Coffee can check the games of. I had a game once against Dragon Kosic in a similar line, I think. I also lost to Ilya. Was it Igor Schneider? No, somebody, Dmitry Schneider or someone. So you played bishop e6 here. That apparently is a little bit unusual. Typical Tarrasch move, but it's considered to be inaccurate. The main move being knight c3. Nothing wrong with d takes c5. He plays passively with knight d2. Wow. That's extremely passive. I mean, the knight is much better placed on c3 than on d2 in general. It doesn't have a great future from d2 here. But d takes c5 looks good. Why not just do this? Butkowski. Couple games. Nobody special. Yeah, this looks like a normal position, but I don't like bishop e6 so much. Computer here recommending b6. That's a weird move to play, like weakening the long diagonal. You have to be very careful about that. So, you played rook c8 following the Shanava game. Then he takes, and we've got, again, a typical Tarrasch situation, but the knight on d2 very, very passively placed. Like, doesn't allow white to put any pressure on the black center. And that's the reason why I think that, white doesn't have an advantage here. Made that mistake pretty early on, putting his knight on d2. Okay, he's equal. But white is still equal, but not better. And then here, this bishop just has no activity. I mean, it just attacks g3. Typically, you're going to put it on b6 or back to e7. I think the move 11 wanted to keep the e5 square under control. But maybe, I guess it doesn't make a big difference. Again, he doesn't have any pressure on d5. But if you play bishop b6, move 11, you're going to keep him kind of tied up because he's going to not have this move knight d4. And I think this was a big mistake. You gave the move b6, that was computer idea. But I think this bishop d6 is dubious. Because you gave a suggestion here of b6. That's weird. b6 here. It's a strange move. I mean, that's the computer engine move. But honestly, I would think that bishop b6 would be very, very normal. Now the computer's recommending a difficult move to find knight b1. That's a grandmasterly repositioning of the knight, and that's a strong move. So b6, maybe you're right. This is a very outside the box type of move though. And then knight e1, and they'll redeploy with knight e3. I don't know. I have my doubts about b6, but it's interesting. Maybe it is good. This is clearly slightly inferior. And then he plays knight d4. And I think simplifying gives him a slight edge. Here. Bishop d7. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to fear that being captured ever, really. Here, you don't mind that. I'm not sure your motivation for playing bishop d7. I could see the bishop being a better piece there. I talk about this all the time in the French. It's actually a little more mobile. It also opens up your queen. So apparently he missed knight b5 now. This was just tactically strong. Tactically strong, he's going to kick you off of the d6 square. And sometimes he has bishop a3 type of stuff. Yeah, but you never should have let him get to d4. That was a big mistake. Here, bishop d7. He missed knight b5. E3 is like a cautious move. But what do you do now? You know, like A6 or something? There it is. Queen D3 is a good move by white too. It's like a C3 Sicilian with colors reversed. Acerbate likes a C3 Sicilian, right? Well, move 11 here is playing the white side of C3 Sicilian with colors reversed. Got a kind of lame isolated queen pawn position where he's not better, but he's probably not worse either. Knight B4, Queen B1, standard stuff. Knight E4, that's nice and active. A3, going back. Standard IQP, B4, but he cedes the C4 square there. You know, so now I'm starting to looking at that square. Is B4 really necessary for white? First moment, Stockfish likes it, but I'm not sure I like it. Like, long term, is it necessary to play B4? Well, you got to defend the pawn, so Queen A1, Tony Miles. It's kind of a dead queen, isn't it? It's funny, like F6. Yeah, okay, I mean, I guess we have to play B4. It's not easy for you to get access to the C4 square. You tried, he just trades pieces, nothing to do. You know, I would consider bishop takes, because sacking this pawn, you know, that's his white squared bishop. I mean, it's kind of scary for him, oddly enough. Is this guy really going to take this pawn? I mean, that's pretty big concession. I'm not sure that black doesn't have a lot of compensation here. If you sack that pawn, it's like a real sack, because that'll be his king side, his white squares across the board, two bishops in the endgame. You know, here you walk into some sort of tactics, it looks like. Might be dangerous. He missed knight b5 again. Better to sack the pawn with bishop takes. Queen a1 again. Now it's an open diagonal at least. You can still play f6 though and shut him down. Queen h5. Yeah, I like exchanging with bishop h3. And then, yeah, I don't know. He's trading rooks in the ending. Okay. What? Wait. Then he trades queens. Yeah, I thought this move was unrealistic, move 11. I like the idea of keeping the queens on the board with the IQP position, but I just don't think you got enough here in terms of an attack to justify it. I kind of agree with the computer saying like queen takes d1. Take your chances in this ending. It's probably a draw. Realistically, this is a draw, man. And that's probably all you can really expect. This is a really nice move, by the way, by the computer, bishop a4 out here. This is what I would have done. Just sucked it up and drawn with this like lower rated player at this point. You know, if it was me playing a 1700, I don't know, but I think that's what you should have gone for. Instead, you played like queen g6, and white's still better. Maybe it was a risk worth taking as the lower rated player, though. It's hard to say. You know, keeping the pieces on. You're agreeing to be slightly worse. And h5, I like, in principle. And you got him with a tactic, bishop b5, okay. And then this is weird. He gives up his white squared bishop. I thought that's pretty strange. And now, what do you got? An endgame, opposite colored bishops, and that's a draw. Should be a draw, though black's a little better with a safer king. Unfortunately, he played that well. He took the c file and then sealed the d file. So now this is just a dead draw after bishop d4. All right, I mean, Magnus would probably play this for a win with black, but you're not Magnus. I'm not Magnus. Most people aren't Magnus. You know, we're definitely not Magnus. But anyway, that's good. You know, good enough for the draw there. I don't like the at one position. Queen g6 was really weird. I think it's a good practical decision, but you're accepting like a slightly worse position, probably there. Okay, guys, I'm getting kind of fried. We got time for 2 more games. We got to go through these quickly. All right, last 2 games. We got Merle Dixon. Actually, 3 games. I take back Merle Dixon. Okay, I take back said it was just 10 move bullet game. All right, we'll do this quick. It's okay for like 5 minutes over schedule, but I take back here 10 move bullet game. Entertainment. Symmetrical. I think I take back doesn't. I don't remember if he doesn't like the engine. So symmetrical b3, b6. Then knight c3. This is weird. The black's messing around doing symmetrical. So this is apparently Jababa versus Kamsky, and Kamsky beat him. I mean, come on, knight c3 is a weird move, but I wouldn't play knight c6 with black. This is just copycatting for being funny. So d4, and then just keeps it symmetrical. You're following this game. But here, you know, I take back evolves this opening with a T and e4. An inspired sacrifice. Definitely good for bullet. And then he tries to keep symmetrical. He's got to take. I mean, this is critical. So what's happening after this? Takes d5, knight e5, and then like bishop b5 check. He has an answer. You know, he's probably okay here after c6. So what's really going on? It's like a long-term pawn sack or something. You could play different ways here. Maybe queen d4. Queen d4, probably something of a problem. Knight d7 is necessary now. White may have a small advantage now. So instead he plays e5. This is kind of crazy to keep the symmetry. Pawn takes. He keeps the symmetry, losing material. Pawn takes c6. Pawn takes c3. Pawn takes b7. Pawn takes there. Then you've got a check. And this is a losing move. Wow. So you could check first. He who checks first. This is what you get for keeping the symmetry too long. Bishop b5 check. That's very strong. Forcing his king out to e7. And then it's like, wow. What's going on here? I don't know. I'm losing my mind. We make a queen now. And I think we probably got something. I'm going to guess that this is probably good for white. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is good for white. Because he makes a queen. He tries to keep the symmetry. And then we've got an in-between move. Check. Well, actually, no. It's mate. It's almost mate. Whatever. I'm being ridiculous. All right, you confused me. This is weird. I don't want to see this anymore. Yeah, you should have won. Bishop b5 check. That's a crazy game. Entertaining. All right, Merle Dixon, short 20 move game with just one blunder. I would like to know if there's anything wrong with the opening for black. Let's check it out quickly. And then I'll get to the last game for today. This is Merle Dixon as black. We'll flip it around. Thanks, guys, for watching. Tomorrow we're going to be back in the morning. Friday morning, 10 a.m. EDT. So just remember, Friday streams are mostly going to be, we're going to try to aim for the morning. So Merle's black against the London system. Merle's a solid player himself. I don't personally like e6. I like c5 in this position. e6. But there's some good setups here involving like b6. So maybe like bishop d6 or bishop e7 followed by castles b6, bishop b7. Castle, and then this is a weird move. I don't like c6. I don't see the reasoning behind this at all. You're giving him a really good stonewall attack after like f4. Just absolutely b6. And then either bishop a6 trading off your bad bishop, or maybe bishop b7 and then waiting for him to turn it into a stonewall and then sticking your knight on e4. Or just knight e4 at some point, at any point, you know. c6 is a really bad move. I mean, this guy Shimoev, no, who did this? Some Chinese guy. c6 is just a bad move. I mean, it probably came out of a different move order and black played like bishop d6, but you're weakening your dark squares and you don't have any kind of counterplay. No, this is concretely bad. And then queen e7, this is weird, queen c7. And he shuts you down, of course. Now you just have a bad stonewall. This is a good stonewall for white, obviously. I mean, at least you didn't castle and you have some weird ideas of g5. Merle is a pretty good player, but the opening I didn't like at all. Yeah, this is not great. White is like playing pretty well. b6, better late than never. Bishop b7. He plays bishop b5. I don't know what that does, though. White couldn't come up with a plan. I mean, normally you castle kingside in the stone wall and play for a kingside attack. He was afraid of g5, probably. Some kind of g5 ideas. But he doesn't do anything here. So then he moved back. I mean, this is stupid. And now black's just better. This is what you should have got in the first place. Sans h6, though. We don't need h6 anymore. We'd rather not have h6 to be able to play f6 right now. So yeah, I didn't really like the way he played the opening. Not great. And again, like, we would rather not have h6. We can play f6, kick him out. So that's the issue. You didn't like f6 because of knight g6, so you decided to play f5. Kind of a tough call. It's equal, you know. So this is equal now. White blundered and walked into self-pin. Self-pin land. That was Bob's specialty today. Bishop takes e4, losing a piece. Okay, that was weird. But yeah, I don't like the way you played like c6, e6 with the bishop on d6. You just have dark square weaknesses and no good setup. You know, you can either play c5 and knight c6 and some kind of traditional line, or you can play bishop e7 and like b6, or even bishop d6 and b6, and try to play for bishop b7 and knight e4. Okay, guys, last game, Iobatis. Okay, game with a sweet ending. A lot of sacrifices. Oh, man. All right, Iobatis, this is just for you. I don't know if he's still here. It must be pretty late for him in Europe, but let's see. So, Iobatis is white. He said it's a good endgame with sweet sacrifices. This is like a possible King's Indian, possible modern. Nothing wrong with the old hippo. Black just plays the hippo with e6, f4, knight e7. Grendelius versus some guy I've never heard of. Who is this guy? Stani. That's weird. Never heard of this guy. He's 2,500. Wow. They're just slipping through the cracks. I'm way behind. Never easy to crack the hippo, though. Bishop d3. Castles. Now c5. Somebody played c5 here. You know, Borgo, the Italian player. He might be a GM now. Instead of castles, he played like c5, trying to open it up. That's creative. No, not this position. Okay. Sorry. Castles. What are we getting here? Oh, so black played c5. I'm crazy. Okay. I thought white was playing c5. Yeah, c5 is not good for black this early. It is later on, usually a hippo idea, but it's too early. All right. So let's follow the game. Castles, and then this is total Steinitz. I was talking about Steinitz earlier today, but Iobatis, are you studying a lot of Steinitz games? Because this is like straight out of what he would do. It's a combination of Steinitz and Lila chess. I love this move, f5. Total Steinitzian. There's like Steinitz versus Günzburg, you know, one of those games. Günzburg was like a guy who was playing g6, bishop g7, b6, like in 1880. Kind of cool to think that dude was doing that. So pawn takes pawn. I'm not playing this as a gambit. I'm just taking, yeah, messing up his structure. Black should take it. He did, right? So now you've got an interesting position. You could shut his bishop down with d5, and you didn't do it. But yeah, I agree. I mean, this is a huge idea positionally. You got this piece, like this piece. It's almost like you're cutting the board in half and shutting down his queen side. And you don't have to be in a rush to get that f5 pawn. So really nice positional sacrifice. But he didn't do it. He did knight g5 here. He said bishop g5. This is, I guess, okay, but a little bit inaccurate. So black could play queen f6 or h6 here. I think you're falling, you know, behind in development. Moving the same piece twice. Panda. Hey, moving your knight again. But nice primitive attack. If you play h4, Panda will love it. But this is, okay, I'm just going back. h6, knight h3, right? Black misses his chance for counterplay with like queen f6 and then does king h7, which is insane. And this move is insane, like king h7, really. Just like self-immolation. Just let's walk out there. Might as well put it on g6. It's just going to get worse. Yeah, no interest in the pawn. Yobatis is not materialistic, and I agree with him. Computer likes rook takes f5, though. But it's not about like winning material. It's about opening lines. You know, just get it out of the way. Like, basically, rook takes f5 is just get it out of the way so we can get to the king. The king crusher would like this. It's a crush. We can crush the king here. This is a top 10 crushing position. After we get rid of that f pawn, queen h5, f6, and he's just mated. Like, oh, this is awful. Now you take the pawn. Now all the pieces are filtering in. Crushing. There you were a little generous. Like, you could have grabbed the rook, but I think maybe you didn't see it, or maybe you just wanted to like, torture your opponent. It's amazing, though, after not taking the free rook, white is still +4. And check it out. He's not down any material. Like, how sick is that? You got a chance to win a free rook here. If you win the rook, it's +7. But if you don't win the rook, it's only +4. How insane is that? And material is totally even. All of Yobatis' pieces are in play. The guy's structure is bad. His king safety is bad. And his development's bad. You know, so it's over. King Crusher would love it. Rook e1. Queen d7. Getting in the way with his bishop. Good coordination there. And then knight g6 here. I mean, obviously you had a lot of strong moves you could choose from at various points here. But all the pieces are coming in. Larry Christensen would like it too. Rook takes f6. Ooh. And then knight b4, he tries to distract you. He does. Was there a faster win? Mate in 6 with knight e7. Knight on d to e7. He got you. Made you look. Bishop takes d4. B4 AB, and now you got it. Now you got the mate in 6 here. Beautiful smothered mate. And you resign now. Like, come on, dude. You can't resign one move before this kind of like crushing mate. That's just not fair. Thanks for the donation, Merle Dixon. Spectacular game by Spectacular Camel. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. here on Friday. It'll be yeah, what am I saying? We're playing 10 a.m. on Friday, kind of like accepting all challenges in 5+3 Blitz. International Master William Paschall, thanks for joining us. Thanks, Soltigo, for being our moderator today. Thanks for the bit donations, guys. Merle Dixon, Move 11, Saul, top bit donators for the week. Again, guys, interesting games. I'm out of here. I'll see you 10 a.m. tomorrow, EDT. That's your New York time, basically. I'm not in Europe anymore. Sometimes I forget. You just have to remind me. I hope you enjoyed the analysis, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Again, it's a reward to that, you know, to just kind of let you guys know that I appreciate your subscribing to the channel. So do a little personalized game analysis once a week. I will see you guys tomorrow morning, hopefully. And after that, the next stream will be Sunday. So Sunday Simul will be 4:30 p.m. EDT on Sunday. 25 players, 40-40 as usual. Okay, guys? So anyway, from myself and the Panda, hey, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Okay? Don't forget to play h4. Get out of here. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks again, Soltigo. Thanks everyone for watching and taking part and submitting the games. Bye-bye.